All right, we will start the meeting. It's 5:02. I will do roll call. We have Councillor Peter Scherer, Councillor George Manzer, the Warden Linda Gregory. She can't be here tonight. She is away in Fredericton, but she is here via Zoom. Hello, Linda.
Here.
We have Councillor Joan Ross, Executive Assistant Taylor Robinson, we have CAO Tyler Pulley, myself Matthew Ross, Deputy Warden, and our Corporate Finance Corley Ross. We'll take a moment to pause to seek guidance. Okay, we'll head into administrative and procedural items. I also want to acknowledge that Andrea Heislop is here from Municipal Affairs. Thanks for coming, Andrea. Sorry, I meant to put you in the roll call. Next, I need approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions?
So moved.
Seconded? Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, we have a presentation from Nancy Robinson and the Digby Area Housing Coalition. Can I get a motion?
So moved that Nancy Robinson come forward.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Welcome, Nancy. Welcome, Harold.
Thank you.
And
Jenny, you want to bring up?
Jenny?
Okay, that's good.
Introduce Jenny too. All right, go ahead. Just press the button there. Yeah, you're good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, yes, we have Harold Alexander, myself, Nancy Robinson, who's the chairperson, and Jennifer Bigrand, who's a volunteer member with us. Can you hear all right, Linda?
Yes.
You can hear good. Everyone can hear? Perfect. Thank you for having us. The main reason I'd spoken to, we used to have a working group with Jeff and Angela Thurber, and the main reason for this is we used to have a working group, and it's been gone on hiatus since September, with all the elections and everything happening. And so I thought the new councillors especially would have some questions of what is the Digby Area Housing Coalition all about. And so we're here to answer questions, and also we have some, of course we have the Montague project, the old Siesta Motel site, and we've received the plans for that. It's almost through the development permit application stage. There's an appeal until February the 19th, and after that we should have our development permits and get on with the building permit and to get the funding to start building. So, but then we have 2 or 3 more projects that we'd like to present to you during the session. So we're open for questions, unless you'd like to make a comment, Harold, maybe if you would like to make a comment.
I guess Tyler's familiar with this, but we had, like, it was sort of an ad hoc group from the coalition and Tyler and Angela Thurber. Yeah. Former. I'm still here. Executive. Anyway, so like we're volunteers, and what we're trying to do is develop affordable housing, and we're also involved with shelters. We have just 2 at the Catholic Church that have had guys in them since early in the fall, I would say. We've heard, we've had requests since those 2 people moved in for other people that are desperate for a place to sleep. In my own case, I was partly responsible for bringing the shelters there, and I was kind of naive about what the shelters are. They're basically an emergency shelter for people to sleep. There's no room in there for them to warm anything to eat. There's barely any room in there for them to eat. So, that's why they're called emergency shelters. And I really didn't know that till we got involved in it. So, that's, one of the second things we do. And so we're all about housing. And Nancy mentioned this Montague Road project. But if you haven't had a chance to look at this 34 unit, 3-story, bachelor and mostly bachelor or studio apartments, about half of them, and the other half almost half will be 1 bedroom, and I think there's a few 2-bedroom apartments. And they're what both levels of government, federal and provincial, call deeply affordable housing, and the rents will be in part decided based on what people's incomes are. And I think you've all heard about what the benchmark is. People shouldn't have to pay more than 30% of their income to have a place to live. This project's going to be about 95% funded by the federal and provincial government. And we, as far as we know right now, will have to come up with about 5%. We already have some equity in the land. We thought we had equity in the building, and that's why it was bought in the first place. And Nancy was front and center with that movement. But after we bought it, we found out that it wasn't suitable for what we wanted to do, and we had to it was suggested that the site's a good place. The bus goes by there. It's very close to downtown Digby, very close to the hospital, grocery stores, pharmacies, all those kinds of things. And the expectation for us is that there will be a lot of retired elderly people live there. We're talking to a local contractor who's done a lot of development. He tells me that the majority of people looking for places in his places are widows. And, and they're elderly. They're not old, but, a lot of them are elderly, and they need a place that's, they don't have any upkeep and convenient and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is, as far as we know, like Nancy mentioned, we're this close to getting both levels of government to sign on to make this happen. Like we should hear within the next month or 2 at the latest that the funding has been confirmed. The province is all in. Their money's on the table as far as we know. The development company that's helping them do all this. And it would be impossible for us to do the paperwork, the funding arrangements and all that stuff without the help of this development agency. And they're called New Commons Development. They're a national not-for-profit organization. And they have engineers, architects, and project developers on staff. And basically what they do is they work for us for nothing until the project gets developed, and then they get a percentage of the cost. So they've been a huge, big help to us. The architects in Annapolis, they're the ones that have been hired by this development organization to do all the architectural and planning work for the project. And we're, I'd say probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the planning right now. You've seen some of the plans. They're not preliminary plans. They're really they're very close. They're just tweaking. Like the last meeting we had, we were talking about what the bathrooms are going to look like and what the kitchens are going to look like, and those kind of nitty-gritty stuff. But so for us as a coalition, we're, like I say, we're a group of volunteers, and if it wasn't for Nancy and the unbelievable effort she puts into this whole thing surrounding housing, we wouldn't be here. And I hear so many stories these days about the desperate situation people in our community are in to try to find a place. Our daughter works at community college here in the the CCA program. She's got students, foreign students there, and I know she told me one of them was sleeping in a car for a while. Like, and they're not doing that because they want to. They're doing that because there's no place for them to sleep. It's dry and warm. And then for me, when I drive around the municipality in particular, I see so many people living in camper trailers. It's I hate use the word disgusting, but for me, that's why I'm here, trying to help Nancy do this thing for our community. So, what the idea we have is, and we've had it for a while, and we talked to Tyler about it, and Jeff, was, how could we take this idea and have both the town and municipal councils team up with us in some fashion, to move this thing forward. Like, so I think probably a lot of you have volunteered before, and you know what the problems are. Like continuity, funding, all those kinds of things. So, for me personally, I looked at one of the templates I looked at was like the Digby Area Recreation Commission, where the town and municipality are both involved, and they jointly fund recreation. And I'm sure, the revenues generated. I've been away from it for a while, but I'm sure the revenues, that are generated by ice rentals and all that kind of stuff don't pay what the costs are. There's some funds that have to be provided by the two municipal units. And that's sort of the model that we're looking at, that we need an executive type of person to do, we're going to count on volunteers. Right away, we're going to have a $10 million project project downtown Digby. We've just been offered, gifted. They want to gift us the Advent Christian Church in Lansdowne near Bear River and 10 acres of land. And, one of the things we talked to Tyler and Jeff about a little bit was the land in the municipality that's on the fringes of Digby. Like the Larchie property, for example, that, offer tremendous opportunities to build some housing. And we're like everybody else. If we have it, if the federal government changes in Ottawa, I'm sure that if Polyab wins, the chances of us getting the kind of money that we've gotten to do this first project are going to be minimal. But provincial government is right on side. They understand and they want to help. So anyway, like I said, this is an idea. We're open to all kinds of suggestions, but we're not here begging for help, but we're here because we want to jointly work with you guys and the town to make this work better and be more stable in the long run. So we need some kind of executive person. We have no money. Right now we're paying interest on a loan we took out for the motel. So that's, it's a real struggle. We do have a plan for a fundraising campaign. Once we get, the 100% approval that this project's going to go, and they're telling us they're going to try to get going by the 1st of May. So we'll be hopefully digging dirt on that soon. But then once, we get that project up and running and far enough along that we're happy and comfortable with it, and we would like to look at other possibilities, and in particular in the municipality, considering that this project's in the town. What I understand is if another project happens going to happen right up the street, I see that some of the components for that building is. I heard a rumor that it's eight apartments, so. Public housing. Yeah. So anyway, like I say, it's an idea. We don't know how. We're not going to suggest to you how this might work. but I just threw it out there that the recreation commission sort of a template that we, something to place what we would.
Oh, and Gordon, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand. Harold, you said you were gifted from the Bear River Church of Christ.
Anglican,
That land, is that where you're talking about the project taking place?
No, I can clarify that. The Advent Christian Church on Lansdowne is going to Bear River. They would like to
Yes.
do housing on their land, but they don't want to be responsible. They're older. They can't take on a project like that. So we're looking at, and they would like to give the land to us, basically, to carry on this project. So we're working with them to see what the best model would be. There are various models we can use that are quite creative, like a land trust model, so that if the land would be, reserved for affordable housing, and then we would try to get a group together to do co-op housing on it. So that's, but they have indicated that they would like to work with us and basically give us the land to do it. We can't really spread ourselves too thin, so we're looking at how to collaborate with them.
So where is the project that you're thinking about doing right now then?
in the municipality,
No, the Montague.
the Montague project on the site of the old Siesta Motel.
Okay, so you'll be ripping that down
Yes. Yeah.
and putting up a new.
Yeah. And it's a pretty impressive building.
No. Is that what you're going to do?
Yes. Hopefully we're going to get confirmation within the next 2 months, and we're hoping to start construction on the 1st of May.
Okay, that's where you're talking about your construction. That's where I wasn't sure.
And the Advent Church, what they're saying they want to give to us is their church building, which, so the first thing we got to do is just get somebody who's in the know, one of the local contractors to have a look at it and give us some idea whether it's, sensible or not. And they're they plan to gift it to us. So it's, if the building is good, that's, and it's, it's near Bear River. So Bear River is one of the bigger communities within the municipality. And I'm sure the housing situation is the same there as it is everywhere else, and so we would like to be, for this organization that Nancy's, developed from an idea for it to become like a community housing organization, housing and homelessness and all those kinds of things. If you're watching the news, you see that, the provincial government in particular has made some serious strides to work on the homeless issue with these pallet homes. And, you see people that are living there, the interviews on TV, it makes them feel better having a roof over their head, a dry place to live, and, in a sort of their own little community, So we think the sky is the limit. We just need for you guys to cooperate with us and find a way. We're not here saying this is exactly what the working group should look like, but there needs to be some representation from both the town and municipality, and so that we can get projects in both places. As far as we know, there's nothing like that happening in the municipality except for the Barton School.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so I think from what you're saying there, that you have something going, you have some parts. You have a bit of a portfolio of properties already, but you have land somewhere, you have in the river, you have a building there. I think what you're saying there about we're not here to tell you what to do or how it should look like. I would think a little more about this. I think what would help really move this thing forward is that you tell us what you need, right? That's easier for us to help you. We know what you need, what you need us to do to support you. I think the idea is very good, and I don't think that anyone here would be against it, right? We just need to know how can we best contribute.
Yeah, so to provide some clarity, we'll be looking for some funding in some fashion. And sort of the way our society works right now, we have a board, a very small board, 5 or 6 people, and then we have some other volunteers who are working with us, but they don't want to be on the board. You know, another Jenny, for example, people who are really interested in, you know, the problem of housing in our community. And I know Nancy pretty much works on this full time, and she's connected to other places all across Nova Scotia who are trying to do what we're doing here. Like Antigonish, for example, they're way ahead of us. But then again, we're way ahead of a lot of other places who are just trying to figure out what we should do with this problem of housing. You know I've spoken to some people and they said, you know, a year ago, and some people said, well, it's not our responsibility. It's a provincial responsibility. And, you know, so I really, I'm not impressed with that because I think as a community, we have to take charge of the situations that are not good.
I would agree with that. So it's interesting you mentioned the integration example. So how did they structure their route? Is it a housing cooperative?
And the Antigonish group, we're kind of following them. They have a board like ours.
Right.
They did start, however, with a charity rather than a non-profit. Okay, and so there are advantages and disadvantages. Charities have much less flexibility when it comes to housing. But other than that, we're following in their steps. They started with 4 units. And we're starting with 34. It's going to be a challenge. But they're up to now about 20, 25, and they've got land donated by their town, and they've also got a councillor on their board, which I think is very important. We're kind of following. Basically, it's a nonprofit structure. There are interesting developments because it's very onerous. It's a long process to get money for housing. So the provincial government is actually coming up with some new models. They've tried it out in Quebec because when we talk province, the province is collaborating with the federal government, and there is something in Quebec called the plancher model, which is getting local businesses and nonprofits together and contributing to a fund that could then loan money to builders and people who want to do this. So we're looking at different ways of financing. So it's very exciting. That's why we really need a working group with the town. So that's our basic ask today. As I say, we want to mainly answer your questions, to have this working group so that we can then make a specific proposal for this executive director position for your budget pretty soon. So we're a little bit of a rush for that. But the working group, I think, is important because we're going to look at the big picture, not just co-op housing, looking at land trusts, looking at different funding models, and as well as shelter, the whole range of housing from shelters up to market housing. So if we did a housing development in Conway, it would be mixed market, definitely. And we've been focusing on seniors because 40% of our first applicants were seniors, but there are a lot of young people couch surfing, a lot of people coming in that need places to live, and we're looking at economic development. I have a whole paper on that from Western Region, REN, so they have a whole section on housing, which I'll give to Tyler. And the growth that's expected here, the minimum growth is 1%, so we're going to need a lot of houses. Right. So it's kind of urgent for that.
Right. So the first step, or the next step in your mind, is to form that working group and identify someone to lead it.
Yes.
Form an executive chair.
Yes. I think that's essential. So we'll look at it. Any other questions?
Harold, when you mentioned about the architects and so the drawings we got and those are actually been done by the architects.
So
they're kind of ready to go. Plans.
Yeah, they've actually gone through 3 iterations. We had to go back to the town for, tweaked the development agreement 3 times. And so this, what you see on that paper with 3 levels and that amount of apartments, that's pretty much carved in stone. And the good thing about it is, there's going to be entrance from First Avenue and also Montague Road. So what it'll mean is, like in First Avenue, because of the slope there, they're going to be able to have all the first floor will be accessible from Montague Road, and all the second floor will be accessible from First Avenue. And the third floor, they'll have to climb some stairs to get up there. But they won't all be fully, what they call fully accessible units, but I think there's 7% or 7 units.
Well, 7 or 8 units, I think.
Yeah, so it's fully accessible, like, so, somebody in a wheelchair will be able to live there. And so, anyway, I think the real crisis for us, because if we start construction the 1st of May, we asked the question this week, how long would you expect that construction would last? And they said, you might be lucky to get it done in a year, but it would be a lot more comfortable, say, a year and a half. So, into the fall of 2026, we'll have a brand new building. Like for us, who's going to live there? How do we vet who's going to live there? So that we get people who are going to pay their rent, and the most needy people get a place, and all those kind of things. And so we need a person, an executive person, to do a lot of work. To manage this project. There are companies around town who will property manage for you, and we may choose that way to go, but we can probably do that in-house as well. So, we're just trying to find our way, but personally, I'm just impressed all the hell that mostly through Nancy's efforts, we're going to have 34 apartment units, as a volunteer. That's off to her, for what she's done. I'm just trying to help out. Anyway.
Any other questions? You answered some of mine in your presentation. I know a little bit about New Commons because I've been right into the Barton School thing. So my question is, obviously they help guide you. We're a good non-for-profit too. In dealings with some of those people, I have they've talked about the Barton School having a working group also. It's going to be part of that non-for-profit when they start doing the rent. There's going to be a board with that too, from community, from within. Is that something they've talked about this too? That I'm just asking if New Commons would be a part of this working group because they're full of knowledge.
I'm not sure, but I think when the project is done and they hand us over the keys, that they're going to move on to the next project, regardless of where it is. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, they are kind of the consultant. They see us from the beginning to the end, but I think after that they're not involved themselves. But the executive director position of the working group are suggesting if that co-op wanted to be part of that, definitely they could have representation, so there would be some connections there, definitely. But no, they would not be involved.
You say executive director, you're looking for a position.
That's just, an acronym for it. It's somebody to do all the things.
Well, you got to collect rent, you got to
Yes, that's what you. Yeah.
Actually, that's a bit different. That's a bit different. There is we're trying to get a community navigator for the Montague project as such, so that will be looked after separately. The working group we're talking about is to look at the whole picture of housing in the municipality and the town. And the executive director position would be whatever you want to call it, community engagement person, to coordinate all those different efforts, including the Montague project, not work specifically in it. that would be up to the community navigator and the property manager collecting rents and stuff like that. So that would be kind of separate. Hopefully, it's not too complicated, but with the working group, it'll be all kind of
like not-for-profits need employees too, right?
Yeah.
You know?
So that's the question: is this a paid position or is it a volunteer position?
In my, yeah, my not so humble opinion, I think it's got to be. Because somebody who's paid to go to work every day. You know, like if you look at the town, the municipality, for example, you know, like I'm a big fan of renewable energy. I'm a big fan of trails. But if we have bodies working on those two things, why wouldn't we have somebody working on housing, which in my opinion is way up there compared to those others. Like I say, I'm a fan of both of those things, but you know, so that's where the idea is. You got to clear in your heads what we're trying to do. We're trying to find our way, right?
Yeah. And you say funding, you'll know by May 1st, eh?
For this particular project, yeah. Hopefully we'll know. They tell us in the next month. As long as the government doesn't change before we get the documents.
So for now, we just need to get back to you on the working group and to clarify you're looking for one of our counselors and staff, or
We suspect we'll have to have the same conversation with the town. But, you know, it could be that you and the CAO for the town and us get together and try to at least, you know, put something down on paper as a start. And hopefully we'll be able to tweak it as time goes along so that it, you know, it meets our needs and it meets the needs of the community and it's affordable. You know? I mean, if we were, I often think when I see the prize on the fireman's 50-50 draw, you know, I think if affordable housing in Nova Scotia had something like that on the go, firemen, you know, the firemen would not be talking like that, but you know, $1 million a week, you know, it's a beast for all of Nova Scotia, but you know, it would be a huge big help.
We have proposed it.
And, you know, a lot, and some of the legwork for that has been done. I think it's almost ready to go. But anyway, you don't want to take any more of your time.
I just have one more question, bringing up rent. The province usually subsidizes the rent. Is that what they're going to do for this project, or is it something like what do you see for rental?
So the subsidy in this particular case is in the building. So we're going to end up with a $10 million building, and it might cost us $500,000. So you know, like so we didn't have to put all that money out for a building. So and they're going to tell us what the rents are going to be. You know, like the CMHC and the province are going to say, this is what your rents need to be.
When will you know that?
Within the same time frame, fairly soon.
Actually, they're waiting for the pro forma, the revised one. They don't know what the median market rent is here exactly because they don't have very good stats on rural areas. However, they're looking at anywhere between 400 and 600, 400 for a studio. It might be a bit above that because, as I say, it's a moving target right now, but somewhat very reasonable, I would say.
Yeah, if I can throw some light on this, the median income in household income in the Digby area is about $40,000 post tax. So considering a 30% healthy ratio of rent for revenue, that would make about $1,000 a month. So I think for the audience, like demographics that you're targeting there, the price point would probably be a little below that. But I would put that as a ceiling range, so it would range somewhere. I think your 400 price point is pretty much low. You could perhaps do it a little more, but without sacrificing, you know, the affordable demographic.
We are, because we get funding from the government, we're kind of bound by what they tell us. I think $600 is, $500-600 is reasonable, but we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to start with that, to address this pretty early in the game. What is the business model kind of, right? So with this, you can get a sense of how much money you have to run the overhead, right? Pay for staff and maintenance and all these things. The one option that you could explore as well, and it's just a suggestion, you could actually go for property management service, right? Because you see this example in integration. Started with 4 units, right? We're starting with 34. That's too much to chew from the beginning. Maybe we can outsource that to our professional property management service, see how they do it, and after we sign a contract 1 year, 2 years, after we learn how to do it, we can make a decision, make or buy decision.
So we reached out to one of the local firms just to get their standard contract, and we know, what's going down, or what will go down if we hire them. So, anyway. So the good thing is we have, like Andy mentioned, some other organizations. They were the leaders, and we're trying to follow. So we have a fair amount of information that they'll be providing to us to help us.
I think that's really important to learn from people who've already done it.
But median income in Digby County, for example, compared to a widow trying to live on old age pension, it's I don't know how to do it.
And disabled too. I do some home sharing, and so I know that someone on a disability pension is $900. Can't afford even more.
All right, is there anything else? Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Appreciate it. We'll be talking.
Yep, exactly.
Hopefully you'll be talking.
That's it.
Hopefully, wish you guys all success, and I hope this works. Yeah.
Available if you have questions, just call.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
We're out of time.
All right. Next is 2.3, approval of the minutes of January 14th, 2025. Anything there?
My name was left off of the present.
Oh, okay.
That
And I noticed something else. There was a typo somewhere. Discuss was spelled twice. To discuss under Deputy Warden Ross, under the Digby Development Agency. I think we could discuss that. Anything, Linda? Warden story?
No.
All good? I get a motion to approve.
I so move as amended.
Seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carries. Next is the meeting dates. There is no meeting on February the 18th. Reminder on February 20th and 21st next week, we have strategic planning at the Pines. February 25th will be our council meeting at 5. And March the 4th, we have bylaw and policy at 5. March 11th, committee of the whole at 5. March 18th, we have no meeting. And then we'll have council on March the 25th at 5. And on April 1st, we will have a bylaw policy starting at 3 p.m. Then we move into the CAO updates. Oh, sorry.
May I ask why we're doing this?
I believe we started our budget process, so it's a pretty lengthy start. We'll be going through.
It's going to be a long one.
It's going to be a long one. Yeah. We usually do that to kickstart the budget. Bring your tent, sleeping bag.
Yeah, right. You gotta plan ahead.
All right, and the CAO updates, coastal protection. There's been no update. Our services review. I guess Bruce has everything on track.
So we're looking at making that presentation at the bylaw on March 4th.
Okay. Right on. Then we have our strategic planning schedules been all sent out to us. You guys got the emails on all of that stuff. Equity and anti-racism. No update on that. Still looking on that. Accessibility. Waiting for the town of Digby and the King's Transit. We're still waiting on King's Transit. So, any questions on the CAO reports? Move into the department reports. Everybody had a chance to look at those. Any questions on any of those? Can I get a motion for the reports?
So moved.
I get a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Dangerous and unsightly premises. There is nothing on here this evening. Then we will move into business items 4.1. King's Transit Letter of Support.
So on this one, you guys are very familiar with this Rural Transit Solutions Fund. So we talked about it a couple meetings now. So Kings has a lot of capital purchases to make, several $1 million worth of purchases in the next couple of years. So they're just looking for a letter of support from us. They're looking for the letter from each unit at this stage.
I'll move to recommend the council to send a letter of support for King's Transit in support of the application to the Rural Transit Solutions Fund.
Seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reminded? Motion carried. Next is the letter to Minister of Public Works. I put that on the agenda for this evening. After our presentation with TIR, it's nice that we have a good relationship with TIR, and we meet with them quarterly, and we've all got quite a bit of flack over how the snow's been, and they told us, they're working hard. I don't think it stopped snowing since we met with them, so they said 44 days of straight snow. I'm thinking they're up to 51, 52. And they said they're running out of sand and salt, and they're going to have to cut into summer's budget and to buy more, which means they're not going to have the budget for the summer to do all the ditching and bush hogging and signs and everything they do in the summertime, which is a lot of work. They also said that they are already losing $1 million worth of wind money from the province. And I feel that us as council should support our TIR staff and send a letter to the minister explaining that, we find it hard on a good day. It was also brought up too that they haven't had cost of living in over 10 years. So even in a good year, we don't have enough to get things done, and things are getting behind. Signages isn't getting done, the painting doesn't get done, bush hogging doesn't get done, they're behind. So I'd like to send a letter to the Minister of Public Works requesting that we get the $1 million of RIM money back, maybe even $2 million, because we need it in all our districts. And anything else you guys can think of, because we need to support them and we need the money down here. Oh, sorry, Lynn. Warden, go ahead.
I totally support, and I'm going to make that a motion, but I'm going to add to CC to our MLA.
Thank you. You reminded me. I had spoke with the MLA and I asked her. She said, yes, put that on there too. Thank you for reminding me of that. I have a seconder. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next is the assessment reports.
That one is mine. Linda, I'm going to shrink you to the bottom for a second just so we can see this chart, and then as soon as I'm done, I will get you back. Okay, so this is the assessment report. This usually kicks off our budget season. Just to give you a bit of an idea, I know it's just a small piece, but it can be a big piece in the budget. So this chart here, it lays out what it looks like for residential, our resource, and our commercial assessments. So as you can see there, as I do every year, you have your 24-25 year, and then our projections for 25-26. So if you look at the residential, last year we had 4,223 cap properties. This year we have 4,211. So that hasn't changed much this year. If you look at the overall projections, the net taxable residential, you'll see that we're looking at an increase of 5.53%, which is a good healthy percentage. I will note that last year we had 12.54, which was extraordinary. And with the way things have been rising, we've seen a lot of that last year, and things are starting to slow down a little bit. If you look at our resource assessment, so last year we would have had 5.42% of an increase. This year we have 2.77. And commercial actually is down a little bit this year. Last year we had, let's see here, we had 13.22% of an increase last year. And this year we actually, if you look at the average, we have a loss of 1%, or just over 1%. So in the end, if you look right down to the bottom here, our additional revenue for this year that we'd be looking at through taxes is $384,785. Last year, our additional revenue was $930,000. So definitely not as much of an increase as last year. Again, we're going to be seeing cost of living in a lot of our accounts and increases. So we will be budgeting, frugally like we typically do. Last year, we were able to put a little bit extra away for our capital reserves and some of our asset management plan that has been new to us. So hopefully we'll still be able to do that, but we'll definitely be running a pretty tight ship here. Saying that, does anybody have any questions when they see you?
All right. Thank you.
Corey, any major reason why commercial, like club business closed?
There's nothing specific, but I do find that the way they calculate it, it's a convoluted formula. I'm sure that the assessment office could tell you that much better than I, but they do take into account like how well they're doing as far as their finances go and their net income and that type of thing. So that's always a factor. So I would say that's probably feeding into it a little bit. I'm guessing they were still in there for a bit, and then it might have come back a little bit.
Any other questions? All good, Warden? All right. So we will move into 4.4, interprovincial trade barriers. This was a letter.
So this one is actually Linda's item.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I'll add is I emailed you each the letter we received today from Minister Laura. So Linda received a phone call from Minister Laura last week, so that's why I could add to the agenda, but we did get that letter today, but I'll let Linda speak on it.
Okay, the inter-trade agreement, I think it's a good thing to get rid of it. We need to trade across all the provinces with no restrictions. But I told Minister Laura that would have to be a council decision, not my decision. He had asked me if we would write a letter or do a press release. I again told him that would be council's decision. I told him that, I said, personally, I said, I'm going to tell you, sir, right now, when you tell me you're open for business, I have some concerns. I have fishing in my area that I have to worry about. What's going to happen on our waters? And I said, I can tell you in my area, again, a lot of people are against fracking. So I said, I'm going to take it to council, see what council says, see what we want to do. I'm glad that we are open for business, and I'm glad we want to take down the trade barriers that should have not been there in the first place. So I guess Trump has done some help for us. And how people feel about mineral and that type of thing to look at the oil industry. Again, my concern is our fishing. So I'd like to hear back on how council feels.
I'll go around the room like you usually do, Warden. I'll start with Councillor Schreier.
I think it's important that we find avenues to improve the economic outlook for the province, and I think trade with other provinces is part of that. It's important, but I would be cautious about exploiting a moment of panic where there's talk of tariffs and all that to open the doors to things that we will regret later. So here in Nova Scotia, we focus a lot on natural resources, and okay, we have some of it to go around, but natural resources are finite. You know, there's talks of lithium mining, there's talks of fracking, all these things. Even fishing, right? If you fish sustainably well, you can fish and replenish the population as you fish. But the kind of fishing that I've seen here in the last couple of decades is predatory and decimated the fish stock of our seas. With a dramatic impact in our community, right? From in the neck there, it's obvious, right? That it's an area that lived a native prosperity for a while, and then all that was gone when the fish was sold. So that is to say that yes, I'm in favor of exploring avenues to increase economic dynamics here, but I would ask of everyone prudence on what we approve and what kind of projects we will add to, because I think the first opportunities will be those that have the most negative externality to our community.
Economically, I think we have to be open maybe a little bit to some of the mining and fracking stuff. With caution, though, we can't just go into it full bore. We have been like a have-not province for a long time. To lessen our restrictions in some cases to try and promote growth.
Councillor Ross.
I think it's a good idea. But it's like anything else. I think you have to open it cautiously. Give thought to what you're doing. I think there's benefits to be had by doing it. I think it's going to cause our business people to think a bit differently about how they do business, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different way of thinking. Fishing, as Peter said, a lot of what we offer is finite. We can run out of it. And that's something I think we need to consider when you look at trading and opening orders, and that is, you don't give everything away. You have to be aware of what's coming in and going out. Certainly it's something I think to look into.
No, I read the letter. I agree with the interprovincial trading. I think we need to open that up. But after yesterday, the last two lines got me. And I just caution it because I started getting phone calls yesterday. All the news came out of the the PMI on mines and stuff like that. So I did some research and stuff, and I'm for one, I have no problem with the heat industry in our municipality. I've always been for that. I have no problem with it. It helps our municipality. The money, there has to be jobs. There has to be industry. People want the Highway 101. They want rinks. They want swimming pools. They want housing. All that comes together when you have viable, good industry in your community. There's no doubt about it. However, we have to caution when it comes to mining, fracking. How does that look? I looked at a map yesterday that was sent to me from Manhattan Projects. They're doing a project down at the old tin mine and looking at a narrow strip of land that comes all the way to Digby. Now it's a very vague map, and it shows fracking anywhere kind of like a line from your area, George, to Sissaboo Road, back to Dosaville, right to the Digby Irving. So what does that mean for us? I don't want to write a letter back to Minister Lohr and a government that's a super mandate and saying, yes, we approve it, and then tomorrow morning constituents are calling saying, why are these people in my backyard? I don't know what's going on, because I guess we need more public meetings, a little bit about what this means for us. I have no problem with it. We need to know a little bit more information. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
It's easy to support in general.
Yeah.
Get the specifics and deal with the specifics.
Well, this is it, and I mean, we're dealing with a pretty big government here that probably don't need our blessing, but at the same time, if we say yes, well, Tammy said we could do it. And I feel when we respond to this, we have to be very careful with the last portion of it, because this all came out yesterday, and I'm dealing with a report. They've been 2 years on a safety report over a 24 kilometer stretch of highway. But yesterday, it's okay to frack, because the province said yesterday it's okay to frack. That's where I'm at.
I would like to make one motion, and my first motion would be that we agree with the trade barriers being lifted on provinces, province to province, and that we send a letter to Minister Lohr and the Premier.
Just that.
Yeah, can I ask a question? What does that really mean in practice? What trade barriers are we talking
It just means that we can trade. There's been barriers wanting to trade with BC, in Nova Scotia, or whatever. It was put in place, but we now need to know that we need to trade more within our province. And I agree with the government, we do in our provinces, because the states, we're going to be tariffed to death from them. We're not going to be able to use the states.
I can just add, Peter, it's not just goods either, it's services as well. So like provinces have different rules for standards to become a nurse or a lawyer or what have you. It's just getting all the provinces in line so people and goods and services can be more easily.
But more specifically, what kind of barriers do we have? Are those interprovincial tariffs? Are those different regulations for specific professions?
Different regulations. That's essentially it. Every province has their own regulations, so they just want to get it in line. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of considerations. But,
like you can't sell Molson beer in Nova Scotia, and you can't to Quebec. You can't sell Keith's beer to Quebec. Why don't we open that barrier and trade each other? And maybe we don't need Budweiser or Busch to come up here from the States. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I use beer as an example, but
but that's a good example because everyone knows that. That illustrates.
Makes it easy for everybody.
I think the principle is.
You need a seconder before we keep discussing.
Can I get a second? George seconded.
Okay.
We keep this.
Yeah. Right. So I think the principle is right. We have to think of the implementation, right? Because if you give just a carte blanche to look at anything that removes barriers are fine. But some barriers are there for a reason, right? They protect our local initiative as well. Let's say alcohol, right? Could it harm our local small breweries if Molson started selling beer here? Maybe not.
I read a report today. It isn't, but that's one
Yeah,
report.
but no, it's just to illustrate, like for example, so opening barriers can do more harm than good. They don't always do good. Right? But in principle, I think the idea of interprovincial trade, stimulating interprovincial trade, is a good idea. It's a good principle to pursue, but not at the expense of our province.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
So if you want, I mean, before you vote on this, I think the letter of support, I could put some language in there that expresses some of our concerns and maybe take a more cautious approach. We can type the language in the letter.
I get a motion? Oh, we got a motion.
No, we got it.
Oh, okay, on the motion. All in favor?
I,
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
now, I did not make a motion on the mineral rights. If someone else wants to, that's their choice. I'm not, it's up to council what they want to do.
Is there a way we can write our concerns about having more information in hand before we publicly make a statement about that?
I think you can, if you want, you can give staff direction to, because I just recently found out this week about this issue as well. So if you want to give some staff direction for us to look into it.
I'd just like to give it some time because, like I said, I just started hearing about it yesterday. I've been on the internet. I've been looking up websites. I even sent a letter to the MLA this morning because it's going to fester. We need to have answers, and people are going to be calling the questions. And I'm not a minor. I have no idea. So I need to get educated. So let's find this out. I think we need time before we respond to Minister or on something that's just 24 hours. It's too soon.
Well, that's why it was being brought up today.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, I also talked to the Premier.
Okay. What did he say?
He told me that things are much better than what they were years ago, and that we should, look at what's best for the province. And the oil industry works in Alberta, and why wouldn't it work in Nova Scotia? And then we could keep our young people here. And I said, but he said fracking, there's better systems now. You don't have to worry about the runoff. I don't know.
And I'm fine with
That's
that.
always been the concern what could happen going into our waters from the fracking.
I mean,
so he's definitely for what he's put out to the people.
So maybe we support research into greater resource development before they jump into it. See what's there and what it entails.
Yeah, that isn't what he wants.
No, I know.
Just so you know, we can send. I think Tyler's right. Let staff look into it, and we come back next week or our next meeting and discuss it. That's up to council again.
Well, I read a report yesterday through the Woodlaw Association that the province got into the court system with another Woodlaw owner that was in Germany. Now, I mean, they didn't have a problem with them exploring the mineral rights. They just were at a point where they didn't know how to go ahead with that and what that meant for them, which is fine for that group. But if this exploration gets out of hand, and then the next thing you know, you're going to individual people on this, property saying, we want to be in your backyard. Like, that mapping makes no sense to me, but if you look at it, it looks like the whole Acacia Valley. Mm-hmm. So are they going to be knocking on doors next week asking the roof hand if we can, explore half of your property here? Like, how does this all work? I don't know.
I don't think they need your permission.
Well, and that's where I was trying to go with that article. I don't know if they won't. They don't. So you really got to be careful. So yes, I guess we'll.
I think we should perhaps make a sort of a running list of concerns. And that would be, I think, the orientation for the staff, right? To give a first pass on those concerns, put it on a document that we can go and chime in. Perhaps, a live Word document. We just put our ideas as well. We brainstorm, and then we discuss, okay, how would a draft of a message emerge from this, right? Something that addresses, like that expresses our interest in economic development, but with guarantees that, that economic development will not come at the expense of our residents, our province, our municipalities.
All right. No correspondence. Next is the committee report. We'll go down through we'll go through our advisory committees. Digby Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, Councillor Ross. Do you have an update on that? The meeting? Okay. Good. Fence and Arbitration Committee, Councillor Schreier.
So that committee hasn't met in my time in this organization.
Okay.
So,
All right. Heritage Advisory Committee, that would be Councillor Manzer.
My report were in the minutes on that one. Was in the minutes from the last. We haven't met since.
Okay.
Councilor Ross. Heritage did meet though.
Yes, but it met the day before the last meeting, January 22nd or whatever it was, so it was in our last minutes.
Okay. Regional Emergency Management Advisory Committee. The Warden Gregory and myself.
We have not met since our last meeting.
No, but we had a meeting since the committee. Yeah, we met right after our committee over our last.
Oh, I thought it was just before. I apologize.
Yeah.
As Remo, we're working together with the town. I have been nominated as the new chair, and who's the vice chair? Is it?
I don't know. We picked one that night. It might be Mayor Berkeley.
Or it might be you. I'm not sure. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Basically, Bruce Snell just went over emergency response. He went over the pamphlet that he did the presentation on with us at our last meeting, the whole meeting. So that was it for that.
Yep.
Next is the Planning Advisory Committee. We haven't met since. No, we haven't. Next is the Joint RCMP Advisory Board. That is Warden Gregory and myself. Speak on it, Warden.
We met and we had an excellent report from our staff sergeant, which was passed on to our council. He appears to really want to have a good relationship with the people. He's really pushing for his RCMP officers to be out and about because they got paperwork to do it in the car, be out, not in the office having a coffee, be out and about so people can see them. He has called me a few times just to update me on some particulars as well. Questions were asked from the committee, and he was able to answer them. I don't think there's really anything else to add. Oh, we did have 2 people from the public that attended, and afterwards he met with them, and they seemed quite pleased that they had the opportunity to meet with him.
No, same as I got to meet him, and he is very productive. He's got new ideas and initiatives for the region. I was happy. He wants to make a bigger presence in our region and quicker. I guess what I'm trying to write here, wrote down was the big thing I liked about it was his. He's making a full complement of our CMP officers in our detachment now, which we haven't had for quite some time in our municipality. He's at full capacity, which is going to be better for us. Quicker response times, bigger presence in the area. I asked him about dealing with the ongoing drug problem in our communities with undercover operations. Of course, he can't tell me any of that stuff. It wouldn't be undercover, but no, he couldn't say anything about that. But he did say that he couldn't bring any of that up, but they are working towards solutions to cut down on the number of hard drugs in our area. So, which was good. I asked about the privacy screens that was asked here at council at accident sites. People coming to ongoing traffic, people are taking pictures, putting them on Facebook. His reply was, and he wrote to us too, to our answers. He said, as most of you know, in a situation of a motor vehicle collision, the main objective is preservation of life. EHS and the fire department of jurisdiction will first be alerted. Our CMP police are third in line to be dispatched. I can say that once the fire department gets there, they typically block the scene with their largest truck for not only privacy but for safety. So that's a good answer. I like that. So next is marketing levy and promotion. Councillor Ross.
They have not met.
Okay. Digby Art Bank jury. Have they met Councillor Manager?
No, me and, towards the end of February, they get moved it.
Okay.
If we can make our selection.
Accessibility Advisory Committee. Gordon?
We have not met.
Okay. And we have nothing on that one. Digby Community Nova Scotia Health Authority Stakeholder. Gordon?
We have not met in a long time. And I plan on asking our CAO and I to get together and see what we can do about reviving the
committee. All right. Thank you. And Atlantic Mayors Congress, I assume that's...
There is going to be a meeting in St. John. There was no meeting last fall because of our elections. And he has told me that there's definitely going to be in St. John, but they haven't sent us out any dates or any updates of what's happening.
Okay. And then we have the Area Recreation Committee. We held our yearly AGM. Mike Bartlett was elected as chair. I was elected to vice chair. The Recreation Department has been very busy. Utilization of the rink and our programs are back to pre-COVID times. Ice times are exceeding revenues, and our staff is working hard to find open gym times for all sports and age levels. Next up are the town and municipal strategic plans. This will help guide the board and staff on upcoming ideas and planning that need to be done to infrastructure and programs for the next 4 years. Sharon will also present her budget for the following 2025 year. And I'll remind people that the volunteer applications are available for this coming April. Is there anything you'd like to add, Gordon?
Yes, I would like to mention that since our meeting there was an ammonia spill.
Yes.
And that the release button, or whatever they call it, valve, worked, and it was released. They had to close down the area. No one was hurt or died in this situation. So here at the accessibility conference, I've already talked to a company called Train, who no longer uses chillers with ammonia. And it's actually, they put all the capital expenses up to update. So I plan on bringing that to our next meeting.
Cool.
Terry has been talking to them as well. But when I said about the ammonia leak to him, he said, oh, all our new stuff, that's gone. and then you don't need a man at the plant all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. All right, next is the Digby Development Agency. We have not met since we have one coming up in March. Digby Municipal Fire Association, that would be the warden and Councillor Schuer.
And that is on the 19th of
Okay.
December.
Back to you, warden, on the King's Transit.
Our meeting is coming up on the 18th.
Senior Safety Committee, that's coming up in March too. Next is Tideview Terrace, Councillor Manzer.
Business as usual. I guess we had a meeting last week.
Business as usual.
Taking care of the seniors.
Right on. Waste check.
They met this morning, actually.
Oh my God.
The financial statements for 2024 were reviewed and approved as presented at this point. They are possibly going to have to move out of the airport in Yarmouth. Apparently, Yarmouth is looking at the future of the airport, and depending on the use of it, they may not have it. So they're looking at trying to make it more functional as an airport, and WasteCheck may find themselves looking for another home. So that's one of the things that they're considering right now. The other thing is apparently most of municipal units right now are working on contracts with their service providers, and they're hoping to get that done in numbers in as soon as they can, because they're looking at making some deals with EPR and that with regards to service provision there and potential money back. So that's the next step, is waiting to hear the numbers. And our next meeting will be one scheduled for March, which they suspect we will not have. So the next meeting will be April 8th.
Right on.
Did you get that, Linda?
Yes, thank you. This is my 5th meeting today. Here I am at a conference, and I totally missed WasteCheck, and I don't know how. I had a meeting at 11, a meeting at 12:30, a meeting at 4, meeting at 5. That was the one I missed. WasteCheck, that was my 5th meeting.
I've been here 5.5 years. I've never seen you miss a WasteCheck meeting, and I thought, what is going on?
You're right, I have never missed a WasteCheck meeting. And for me not even to, that's here, I will be calling Gus and Amy tomorrow.
Can Linda or Joan answer? Are we getting any benefits yet from EPR?
No, so I can take this one.
Oh, any money coming through?
So it doesn't kick in until December 1st this year. So there will be a benefit. So essentially, as you probably know, once EPR kicks in, we're no longer responsible for the collection of recycling. So you can just do some basic math. If we have a collection contract, about a third of it, you could say is the cost of recycling. So right now we're in negotiations. If we opt in to continue to collect it, we're in negotiations on what circular materials will reimburse us for that portion. But as Joan pointed out, the problem is right now they're offering a number based on our current contract, which is supposed to expire in 2 months, so it's old numbers. We expect a bigger increase when we tender it. So I'm currently working on the tender, which we'll have in place in the next month or so. So we have those updated numbers. But long story short, we will see a financial benefit on December 1st.
And the circular materials, that's the meeting I was on, 11 o'clock. And it was brought up then about if they're changing where it goes, if, that's a difference in costs. And you're right, our contract is going to go way up because it's too low. Just listening to what the others are and what's going on and the cost of everything. So, yeah, I think it was made pretty clear at that meeting that, you can't go by some of our contracts, and they think they can. Just so, give you a heads up.
Thank you.
They were nice and polite though. It's a good meeting.
That's good. Next is Western County Regional Library.
The library, we had a Zoom meeting this morning, and their bookkeeper is retiring after 35 years. We're looking at different options. Instead of hiring a bookkeeper, there's not enough work to keep them going full time. They may contract out, which would save them some money in the long run, and they can hire somebody else to do it.
The next is Western Regional Enterprise Network. I zoomed into the Rent Oversight Committee meeting. They appointed new committee members. Gilles is our new chair. Yvonne LeBlanc is our vice, and I've been appointed chair of the Recruitment and Nomination Committee. I did see you on that Zoom, Peter, but then somebody must come in and want to bug you for work.
Got interrupted there.
You're at the office. All right. Next is Digby Area Tourism.
They have not met.
Okay. Digby Harbor Port Association. Met briefly with Ed and them. They've gone over their plans for the wharf, the potential plans for the wharf, and again, that's where I say I don't want to throw Bracking and Monument under the bus because, we're looking for other utilizations of the wharf. How do you bring industry in? Can we ship other products out? I mean, no, I don't want anything to happen with the fishing community, God forbid, but, we can also share it with other industries too, and that's why I say we just kind of slowly get into this because there's other opportunities out there for what the municipality of Digby has to offer. So those are just things to think about. Warden, Southwest Biosphere.
They're meeting, next week.
Okay. And the last one, Councillor Schreier, Western Region Crown Lake Land Stakeholders.
This committee don't hire.
All right. So the next is in camera. So thank you everybody for coming. Nancy and Andrea. Here's the camera. Okay. Hopefully I just need a motion in camera. Okay. All in favor? All right. Okay. Any motion?
I move that we approve the hiring plan for the building inspector, which includes the succession planning and the development officer piece.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Tyler, you want these back?
The next is adjournment. We have a motion?
Okay.
Second it?